Hi, welcome to the Small Shed. This Saturday we've got a new television to fix. See you in a minute. Now, I'm not a great one for watching television. My wife tends to watch it and I tend to either look at my pad and watch YouTube videos or edit videos on the laptop, so it's not of any sort of great concern to me. But we have had a problem over the last probably a year now with the picture getting steadily worse, with pink blotches appearing occasionally on it, so it was time to get a new one, and it's arrived. I've had to fix it this week, and although there's not a lot involved in doing it, there's a couple of things I can talk about while I'm fixing it, and a few little rants I can get about the way things improve with modern life. But let's go and have a look and see. So in this modern world that we're living in at the moment, where things are a little bit strange, deliveries are slightly different. You don't get a man from the television shop come and bring a television round and fit it. He just runs in the house with a mask on and runs out. Normally it's the other way around. People with masks on run into your house, steal things and run out, but that's it nowadays. You get a man who just throws it at the house and runs away. It should be a straightforward thing to do, because I have a wall mounted Samsung 43-inch cheap nasty television, and I've just bought another Samsung 43-inch cheap nasty television, probably, I don't know, 8 years on or something, I don't know. So it shouldn't be that difficult. As you'll see, there are one or two slight things that have changed that give me cause to be a grumbly old man. The thing is on a wall mounted bracket which I put up when I first put this television in. It was the first time we'd had a wall mounted television, and it's at the other end of the living room to where we used to sit at this end and look down the other end, and when I knocked the bay out it made a lot more room down the other end of the room, so we tended to sit down that end and decided it was better to look back this way. So the biggest problem that brought me was that all of the power cabling and everything, television outlets, they were all at the wrong end of the room. And at the time we decided we'd get a satellite, Freeview satellite in as well. So I brought all the cabling for that down the flue for the wood burner. There's a ducting into the living room. That all came into the ceiling in the living room, but of course all the joists for the room above run from left to right, so to get a cable from virtually where the camera is across to where the television is now involved an awful lot of 2-inch holes in the ceiling, drilling holes through the joists and then putting them back and then drilling the next hole along, and it was a bit of an involved job. Again, I think I ended up, I can't remember offhand, but I think I ended up having the whole of the ceiling re-skimmed in the end, because we've got a couple of cracks in the ceiling anyway. The other thing I did was to want to cable the duct, cable the wires from behind the television down to the unit below without anything showing, and although we'd got a carpet down, I ended up, I think, building a polythene tent all around myself, about a 1.5 metre square, and a thing on the floor, tarpaulin or something, and basically chased out about a 4-inch wide, 5-inch wide by 2 inches deep into the black concrete clinker blocks. The wall is on the cavity wall, and that made a hell of a mess. But we've got a 1/2-inch plasterboard, 1/2-inch cavity behind it or thereabouts where it's dot and dab to the wall, so I didn't have to go too deeply into the blocks to get a piece of kitchen ventilation duct down from the high level down to behind where the unit is at the bottom. A couple of bends on each end and a couple of little outlets with like a draft excluding type thing that you can push the cable through, and it's given me a sort of an upgradable way of getting cables up and down without too much problem. It's a huge sort of duct. It's about 4 inches wide by 1.5 inches, 2 inches deep, so there shouldn't be any problem about getting cables up and down. And then I just ran a little power socket up from the spur up from the bottom, again to keep the cabling for the mains away from the signals for all the other stuff. So as I said, the new television should be a straightforward swap one for another, and it was a job that I expected to take about half an hour, but as you'll see, it doesn't quite work out like that. First thing I noticed was how much lighter it was. Again, for the same size, it's about a third less heavy, I would say, and of course thinner, as you might expect. And that's the normal way of things. You expect things to be, half the price, half the weight, half the size. That in itself isn't a problem, but the thing that amazed me, or surprised me if you like, is that all of the standardised things that you get, they've changed. You've got kettle outlet on the back of the other one, you've got a little 2-pin socket on the back of this one, so it needs a new mains cable rather than the one that was already there. Hasn't got the SCART outlet anymore, which didn't matter because I think it was a redundant piece anyway that was from a previous DVD drive or something. But again, things like that are just going out of fashion. They're all using HDMI's now, and I've got a couple of those on from things below. And then should be straightforward to move the brackets, and you would think they're standard pattern bolt holes, they're standard thread sizes, everything was identical, except they've suddenly made them 10 or 15 mil deeper into the television, so the bolts didn't fit that I had from before. Fortunately, they're exactly the right size of the ones I'm using on the bus bunk at the moment, but it's only by chance I'd got exactly the right size bolts. And I can't for the life of me think why they've suddenly made bolts 15 mil longer to support a television that's a third or 2/3 the weight of the previous one. You just wonder why sometimes. The cabling into the television, all of the inlets are on the opposite side, and again, why do they suddenly change? It's like Ford suddenly starting to put all of their controls on the opposite side of the steering column, just for the sake of it, just to be different, and you think, why do they do it? But rant over, well, for the moment anyway. But we just hooked it back on the wall. There's just a pair of hangers and a little screw up bolt underneath that tightens them up to stop it falling off or getting knocked off. But it's fairly easy to get them back on, and then you just got to plug all the things back in again on the opposite side to where they were before. Quick measure up to make sure it's centered, get it roughly in the middle, although it's not particularly essential, but it just loads it more evenly on the rail. And then we get on to the subject of remote controls. They've always been the bane of my life anyway, but we had a Samsung television with a Samsung remote control, that was fine. And this television came with a remote control that was almost identical, not a problem. Excellent so far. But they've also supplied me with another remote control which has got about half the controls on it, presumably the ones that you use the most. But what that means is that in addition to the Roku box remote control and the DVD player remote control and the hard drive remote control, you've then got another 2 remote controls. So is it really an improvement to move from 4 remote controls to 5 when one of them only does half the things that one of the other one doesn't do? So that kind of floored me, together with the logic of having quite a big remote control with 2 AAA batteries in it and a tiny little one with half the functions on with 2 AA batteries in, which are the bigger ones, all of which sort of defies any sort of logic in my brain. So I've thrown the little remote control away altogether anyway, because it just annoyed me. And then of course you can't just plug a television in and make it work anymore like you used to have to. You now have to download an app onto a tablet or a phone and give them your name and address and inside leg measurement before it'll even let you turn the television on, which is another sort of retrograde step. It used to be that you'd get a television and you'd put it on the wall and you'd plug it in and it would work. But now it seems that although it says it's a smart television, it's not quite as smart as the one that it's replaced. But after about half an hour of fannying around with the internet, we finally got some pictures and got it going. And it's not got any pink spots on it, so at least it gives me the comfort of knowing that it wasn't something stupid like a bad aerial connection or something that was causing the original problem, because it's not the first time I've done things like that and found out that it wasn't the appliance itself that was at fault. So that's a few more brownie points hopefully from my wife, who can now watch the television without having to have strange tinted spectacles on or something to make it look right. And I basically took off the original film that was protecting the screen, put on the old machine with the intention at that stage of reusing it perhaps somewhere, but I think common sense has got the better of me. I thought, oh, it could go in the shed. Well, it's bigger than the shed, I think, anyway. Then I thought it might be able to go in the garage and use it in there, and I thought, well, why do I really want a television in the garage? There's not any wall room anyway, and it's just a distraction. So I think despite wrapping it up tidily, it is actually going up the tip at the moment, so hopefully we'll be getting rid of it up there. So I hope that was of interest. Not a lot of making or anything at the moment because, as you know, I'm on the bus bunk. We're in paint at the moment, as you'll probably see from all the paint all over my clothes. So hopefully we will be soon back to making things and repairing things. Sorry for the rants about modern life and modern things, but I think it just comes with old age. Hope you enjoyed the video. Look forward to seeing you next week. We'll do something different. I'll see you then. Bye.